You're about to launch your product, service, or brand. You are at a stage where you want to find who you're gonna target. Hi, I'm Aldrich Tinkatoyat. Thank you for tuning into this video. So, identifying your target market, your target audience is crucial. It is a very important first step. And sometimes some would argue it is more important than the product or service itself. Why? Because identifying who you are going to communicate to, who you're going to sell to, who you're going to promote to, will determine the success or failure of that launch. And it could affect your revenue. So how do you go about this? Okay, when I say how would you segmentize your target audience or market segment? The first clear and obvious market segment that you can consider is the decision-making unit. In every transaction, there is always a decision-making unit. It could be the person who decides to buy. It could be the introducer. It could be an advisor. It could be an influencer. It doesn't have to be the consumer, him or herself. I mean, think about toys, for example. Who are the real decision makers and who are the buyers? And who are the consumers? Consumers for toys are obviously children, depending on which market, which age group, right? But the one who takes out the credit card, the debit card, or the cash would be the parents, the guardian, or an adult. So it's not the children who are paying for it. It's the parents, the guardian, an older relative, or an older friend, right? A family friend. So that is an example where the decision making is not clear cut. It's not like me deciding, hey, I want an ice cream, so I'll go down to the convenience store and buy a stick of pedal pop, and it's clear cut. The more complex the organization, the more complex the decision making process, you will have multiple parties to consider. You have to consider the finance representative on the procurement process. You will have to consider the procurement people themselves. You will have to consider the end user. You might even have to consider, if you're going higher in the organization, the gatekeepers, those who are supporting the chairman or the chief executive, for example, their secretaries, their personal assistants, who have the ear and eyes of the person they are working for. And often than not, I'm sorry, but this is a reality, often than not, many professionals try to ignore this group of people because they assume that secretaries, personal assistants are unimportant. But in reality, these are the people who know the temperament of their boss, the expectation of their boss, because they would already know the priorities of the boss, sometimes before other colleagues in the organization. Right? So this is the first type of market segment, decision-making units. The next one will be the global segment. The global segment is where it's not confined to a single geography. That is enabled by e-commerce, by the internet, by communications technology. You see someone providing a service or a product from Singapore, selling to a consumer, a purchaser in the United States, or a manufacturer in Canada selling their goods, their services to someone in, say, Australia. But within that global segment, you will have identifiers, because as in my previous video, I've mentioned that it's impossible to target anyone or everyone. It doesn't exist. So how do you segmentize that? With the right identifiers. Sometimes the domestic market may be too niche. Therefore, you want to go global. I'll give you an example. Neither you nor I will ever, in our right mind, buy a wide-body aircraft. In Malaysia, probably one or two operators maximum, are interested in buying or acquiring a wide-body aircraft. When I say a wide-body, think of the usual Boeing 777, the Airbus 380, the Airbus 330, right? Heck, we wouldn't even buy narrow-body aircraft. Why would we? How would Boeing, how would Airbus go about it? They make the segment a global segment, the global aviation segment, right? Rather than confining it to purchases in Europe or in the United States. I mean, come on, among the largest Airbus purchases are outside Europe. We're looking at the Middle Eastern airlines. We're looking at the likes of budget airlines outside Europe. So that's the second classification, a global segment. Number 3, you can segmentize by consumer segments. Again, test it against the 4 criteria that I've shared in a previous video. If you haven't watched that, the link will be somewhere in the description below. Consumer segments are the users themselves. You can segmentize them, you can subdivide them, if you will, into age group or demography. You can subdivide it into geographical location. You can subdivide it into their lifestyle. You can subdivide it based on their psychography, as well as benefits that they hope to enjoy. So here's the thing, car manufacturers, for instance, there are X number of car manufacturers worldwide, right? So when they're selling their different models, notice the different angles they're using. Some would use the angle of saving the environment. It consumes less fuel, it saves the environment. Some would position their product as it fits the whole family, it fits the growing family. Others would say it's an economic option, an economic choice, because it runs on cheaper fuel. It runs on the mileage, or rather the kilometers per liter, spans wider compared to other options. So those are the benefits. So you see, not everyone, yes, there are buyers in the consumer segment who are interested in specifications, but more often than not, people buy the benefits. People are interested in the benefits. So that's number 4, the consumer segment. Sorry, number 3, the consumer segment. Number 4, industrial segment. So you can position you can create a target audience, a target market based on industry. What sort of industry are the buyers or the users operating in? Are they professionals? Are these buyers large companies, B2B companies, entrepreneurs, freelancers? Where are they located? Along the supply chain, where do they fall? Right? So this is the 4th consideration that you can use. Why is this important? Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. Having the right target audience, having the right target market, helps you plan and execute the right promotion, the right advertising, the right communication and publicity, without which no one will know. Remember, you're trying to bring people from a state of unawareness to a state of awareness, from a state of awareness to a state of acceptance, from a state of acceptance moving on to the state of preference, from preference to insistence, and finally repetition or repeated transaction. And that, as you move that along, whether it's among your current consumers or your current clientele, or you're doing it for new products, new offerings, or you are completely fresh, you're starting from anew. So you're trying to do this, you have to make sure that whatever you do in terms of promotion, advertising, and publicity, it pushes the right segment along the right stage. And again, as I mentioned, consumers, including industrial consumers, they consume not only products, services, but also information on their respective platforms. Let me just quickly go over that. If you're looking to sell or you're looking to communicate to general mass market, well, Facebook is a good way to go. Google is a good way to go. And you can speak to the Facebook and GDN gurus, right, for specific tactics and strategies under those platforms. Now, LinkedIn, on the other hand, is a good B2B or B2B product service that you're trying to promote. It's a good platform for B2B products and services rather than makeup. Makeup would fit Instagram because it's very visual. You can employ or you can engage with influencers or YouTubers with a large following on YouTube, on TikTok, or whatever platform there is out there, and have them demonstrate the use of your product. So again, identifying the right target audience impacts the success of the communication, which eventually impacts the success of the whole campaign and the launch. Thank you very much for staying on and watching this video. Do share, like, and comment in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you have to say, your experience in identifying your target audience. If you have any questions, again, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Thank you very much and have a great day ahead. Bye.